The back room was a secret, a hidden heart beating with the pulse of fate. Velvet curtains, the color of a moonless night, concealed a roulette wheel. It spun with an eerie hum, a hypnotic siren call in the muffled silence. This was no ordinary game. This was a dance with time. The air hung heavy, thick with anticipation and the musk of aged wood. A single flickering gas lamp cast long dancing shadows on the worn velvet of the roulette table. Above, a haze of cigar smoke formed a ghostly canopy, obscuring the ceiling and adding to the room's unsettling mystique. Two men circled each other, their eyes locked in a duel of ambition and hate. They were rivals, bound by destiny and a shared addiction to the spin of the wheel.
One, a young man named Julian, burned with the arrogance of youth.
His adversary, a seasoned gambler known only as Silas, possessed the cold, calculating gaze of a viper.
They had met here countless times, their lives intertwined by the whims of fortune. Each spin of the wheel was a battle, a desperate gamble for power over the very fabric of their beings. There was no love lost between them, only the bitter rivalry that festered with each passing game. Their hands, weathered maps of their years spent gambling, trembled with anticipation. Each man clung to his own personal talisman. Julian, a silver dollar flipped between his knuckles. Silas, a worn rabbit's foot tucked discreetly in his pocket. The room vibrated with their unspoken hatred, a palpable tension that crackled in the air. The wheel spun, time twisted. Julian felt a surge of vitality with every win, his youth blooming anew.
Silas, on the other hand, withered. Each loss aged him, etching lines of despair onto his face.
The years became fluid, measured in the clatter of chips and the hushed whispers of the roulette wheel.
Julian, once a brash young man, moved with the grace and energy of a child. His eyes, once clouded with ambition, now shone with an almost unnerving innocence.
Silas, once a figure of formidable presence, now stooped under the weight of time. His face, a roadmap of countless losses, was a mask of weary resignation.
The room bore witness to their transformations. The velvet curtains seemed to absorb the years, their deep red hue growing richer with every spin of the wheel. The air, once thick with anticipation, now crackled with the unsettling energy of distorted time. The final spin, innocence versus oblivion. They stood on the precipice of oblivion, one last spin separating them from their ultimate fates. Julian, now a mere child, giggled with an unsettling naivete. Silas, a frail spectre of his former self, clung to the edge of the table, his breath shallow and ragged. The roulette wheel, a vortex of their intertwined destinies, spun with an almost deafening intensity. It was the final act of a play years in the making, a climactic scene where youth clashed with decay, and time itself hung precariously in the balance. Julian placed his bet, a single chip, as if the weight of years held no value. Silas, with a trembling hand, pushed forward the last vestiges of his stolen youth. Their eyes met, a chilling tableau of innocence and despair reflected in the other. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. The wheel slowed, the silver ball bounced, hesitated, and finally settled. Julian, now no more than a babe, cooed and reached for the spinning toy of fate. Silas, his face frozen in a silent scream, crumbled, dust to dust. The silence that followed was deafening. The room, once a battleground for their rivalry, now held the sweet innocence of a child and the lingering echo of a life extinguished. The roulette wheel, finally at rest, seemed to sigh, its work complete. A woman emerged from the shadows. The croupier, her face hidden behind a mask of indifference, swept Silas's remains onto the floor. Her movements were practiced, emotionless, as if this was merely another Tuesday, another soul claimed by the insatiable hunger of the game.
The house always wins.
Her voice, a silken whisper, clung to the smoke-filled air. Her words were a chilling epitaph, a stark reminder that in this game there could be only one winner, and it was never the players. His past, his memories, his very identity were fading faster than morning mist. He was a blank slate, ready to be molded, to be sold to the highest bidder. The baby, oblivious to the drama that had just unfolded, reached for the woman with a gurgle of laughter. The woman smirked, a predatory glint in her eyes. The game had reset. The wheel of fate was ready to spin once more, and she, the mistress of this macabre carnival, would be there to collect her due. For in this velvet-draped arena, time was a fickle mistress, and the house always won.